Hi guys, this is Paige from Paperbacks and Lattes, and today I will be telling you about some of my favorite authors. So I know I'm kind of in a different location today. I'm actually in my youngest son's bedroom. This was just the place where I had the brightest light. I'm really not comfortable. I usually do this in my bedroom, but my husband is in there right now because it is Saturday and he's off work. And I'm just not comfortable doing this in front of him. So I woke up this morning and the idea came to me to do a video with some of my favorite authors. I need to start doing some more recommendation videos instead of just wrap-ups and TBRs. I'm still a fairly new romance reader, so I don't have as many books read as most of the people on BookTube, but I still have quite a few read and I want to share some of my favorites. So I thought, why not start with some of my favorite authors, and then I'll give you a book or two that is my favorite that I've read by them. So let's begin. The first author I have is C.M. Stunage. I loved most of her books. She mostly writes about reverse harem. I really don't know if she has, yeah, she does have series about that it's not reverse harem, but most of them are. So if you like reverse harem, you will definitely like her series. She has a lot of books written. I have not even come close to completing all of her books, but I have loved the ones that I've read. My absolute favorite series by C.M. Stunage is the Rock Hard Beautiful series. This has 3 books in it, possibly a 4th one on Goodreads. She has a title for a 4th one, but she's so busy writing all of her other series that I don't think it's going to come out anytime soon, but hopefully one day she will write a 4th one to the series because I just love the series so much. It is my favorite. It's probably my absolute favorite book, period. So the first book in that series is Groupie. We meet Lilith. She has just found out her dad has died to cancer, and she has mainly pretty much lost everything. She found out her boyfriend was cheating on her, so she has no apartment. Everything she owns is in her car with her. She owns her car and like a few belongings. Her dad died, her mom had died in the past, so she has nobody except for her stepmom, who treats her like absolute garbage. And she's trying to get to where her dad lives because she lives in another state, and she just so happens to win these tickets to win this VIP pass to this concert put on by this band. And she goes because she's just kind of is at a loss at what to do. She has nowhere to go, nowhere to she has no body, and this rock band, they take her under their wing. Of course, it kind of starts as a sexual relationship, but then it's 5 members of the band. There's Paxton, Muse, Ransom, Copeland, and Michael. I remember them. 5 members of the band, and they all have a relationship with Lilith. And all of them have come from bad backgrounds, very traumatic past, and so they really identify with her, and they take her with them on their tour, and it leads to more. So their tour expands over these 3 books: Groupie, Roadie, and Moxie. So those are the 3 books in the Rock Hard Beautiful series, and I cannot recommend it more. The next author I have is Colleen Hoover. I love her books. I've loved every one that I've read by her. I think Colleen Hoover is just one of those authors that I cannot find. I cannot read anything that I don't love that she writes. So I especially loved It Ends With Us. This is about a girl who when she was a teenager, she had fallen in love with this homeless boy who she found in a house, abandoned house nearby where she lives. And they fell in love with each other until her dad discovered him, and he pretty much beat the crap out of him. And he had to go to the hospital because he was so badly beaten. and she never saw him again until later on down the road. She went on to become a florist, I believe. It's been a while since I've read the book. And she meets this this doctor in her building, and he pretty much lets her know that he doesn't do relationships at all. But he's really infatuated with her and he cannot let her go. So they form a relationship. And the relationship is good, but also bad. I don't want to spoil anything, but there is, it's a very heartbreaking story. There are elements of abuse in this book, so please know that going into this, that is a trigger warning for this book. But it is a beautiful story and I loved it so much. Another book I love by Colleen Hoover is Ugly Love. This is a girl who comes to stay with her brother. He is a pilot, and I can't remember the exact reason she was staying with him, but she needed some place to stay, so she stayed with him in his apartment. And the night she comes to his apartment, there is a passed out guy in front of her brother's door, and she calls her brother and is like, okay, there's this guy. And he said, okay, we'll call his friend. He's another pilot, and it's his friend and his neighbor right down the, a few doors down. So she calls him, and it ends up that he's the guy. So he is drunk, passed out in front of his door. His brother's like, can you please help him inside? He's struggling right now, and if you could just stay with him and I'll be home soon. So she stays with him the night, and so then she really likes him and he likes her, but he has so many demons from his past that he is fighting. Something tragic happened in his past and he has been pushing everybody away from him, but she helps him eventually to heal from those his tragic past. And so I really love Ugly Love. It's heartbreaking as well, but it is so good. And then Maybe Someday, I loved this book. And then there is the second book and then the third book. I've read the second, but I haven't read the third yet. But this involves a girl who listens to this guy play a guitar across like the balcony where she lives in these apartments. And he plays, like every evening, he plays these beautiful songs on his guitar, but she never hears him sing. And so she just kind of makes up words to these tunes in her head. And then one day she finds out her boyfriend has been cheating on her with her best friend. So she has nowhere to go. So she goes to this guy's apartment and he lets her stay there, and it turns out that he is deaf. So he can play a guitar because his brother has a band. So he writes the songs for his brother's band. He cannot hear, but he's really been having writer's block. And she lets him know that, she wanted to know what those songs were. And he said, well, I just have the tunes. I don't have any words to them. So she kind of says, well, I've been making up words to the tunes. And so they start this dynamic of songwriting together. She is helping him write these songs for his brother's band. They start to have feelings for each other, even though he is in a relationship. He has a girlfriend, but he is determined to stay true to his girlfriend. It's not full-blown cheating, but it is a little bit more than they probably should have done, but it was still so beautiful. And then in the second book, you understand, because part of the point of view is from his girlfriend, and you understand their relationship and their dynamic more, and you understand that it wasn't as horrible as it seemed. But they fell in love with each other, and even though he had a girlfriend, and it was so beautiful. I love this series, loved it, and I cannot recommend it more. The next author I have is Mariana Zapata. The very first book I read from her was The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and I had such a book hangover after I read this book. I loved it so much. I have not found a book that even comes close to this book. I try to always find similar books, but so far I have not found one that comes close to this. This is a sports romance. Aiden, the guy, he is a football player. He plays for like the NFL. He has, I can't remember her name, but she is his like assistant. She cooks all of his meals. She takes care of his house. She does pretty much everything for him, and he is just kind of unaware, kind of takes her for granted that all she does for him, and he doesn't stand up for her when a reporter, I think it's a reporter, said something kind of a nasty remark about her, and he didn't stand up for her, so that was kind of the last straw for her. So she's like, you know what, dude, you do this by yourself. So she quit, and he kind of realized then that, you know, what all she did for him, and he missed her so much. And then he would go over to her house every day to try to get her to come back. But he was also an illegal alien to the United States because he is a Canadian, and his passport or his green card was expiring, and he needed to marry her. He wanted to, well, he needed to marry someone, but she was the only one he wanted to marry because he was very comfortable with her and he liked her. And she told him that he told her that he would pay off her student loans and then one day buy her house if she did this for him. So she finally agrees, but she agrees with stipulations because she is not going to become like the maid or whatever that she used to be. So she starts to, so she's living with him now as in a like different kind of relationship because they're engaged, getting married, and then he starts seeing her as what she truly is, what she means to him, and it is so beautiful. They don't really get together until the very end of the book, but oh my goodness, this book was so good. I loved the moments that, because he wasn't a very, he didn't really express his love very much, but when he started doing little things for her, it just melted your heart because you knew that he didn't really have time for anybody. Football was his greatest passion in life. He didn't date, he didn't go to parties, he didn't do anything except football. And she, you know, wiggled her way in his life, and he fell in love with her, and it was so beautiful. I love The Walt of Winnipeg and Me, and you need to read it. Also from Mariana Zapata is With Lugoff from Love. This is a figure skater, and she has not had a great experience lately. She lost her partner that she was skating with, and so she has a chance to partner up with Lugoff, and he has been like her competition all through her skating career. But she finally decides to give it a go because this is probably her last chance at a skating career, and they hate each other. Mainly their commentary between them is so funny. They call each other names. They do things to tick each other off. That is really funny, the dynamic between them. But really, he has liked her for a long time, but with the hatred that she gives him, he has not really been able to express it. And then it's just kind of, they grow on each other throughout their skating career. They grow on each other. He shows through little acts of things he does for her, that he cares for her, and they just come to love each other, and it's a beautiful story. And I love the ice skating element of it. I've always loved ice skating, and so that was a delight to read about. And then another from Mariana Zapata is Dear Erin, and this is the girl who was the ice skater in With Lugoff from Love. This is her sister's story. So her sister met this guy online. She was doing this project of sending soldiers that are overseas on deployments letters or emails, just, you know, to keep their spirits up. And she starts contacting this soldier named Aaron, and they really form up a friendship through emails and text and whatnot. And then they decide to meet one day, and of course the rest is history from there. But I really loved that family dynamic. I love them. I hope Mariana Zapata writes more books from that family. But though they're not actually a series, they're all standalone books, but you do see some characters in other books. Then I have Penelope Douglas. She has written my all-time favorite age gap, which is Birthday Girl. Birthday Girl is about a girl who she is all alone on her birthday. It starts on her birthday, and because her boyfriend kind of forgot about her, and she's 19, and so she, after work, she goes to see like this 80s movie playing at the theater, and there she meets Pike. He is also there to see the movie, and they kind of hit it off. Once they leave the theater, she gets a call on her phone from her boyfriend saying, "Hey, I'm in jail, please come get me." Also gets the same phone call, and it turns out that her boyfriend, that's his dad, who she just sat in the movie with and had feelings for. So it turns out that her and her boyfriend, they got kicked out of their apartment because of his actions. And so now they have to live with his dad, which is Pike. And she is living there, and her and Pike have, her name is Jordan. Jordan and Pike have a serious feelings for each other that they are constantly fighting. There is so much angst in this book. And they can't be together though, because for one thing, she's in a relationship. Another thing, it's her boyfriend's dad. And another thing is there's a huge age gap. So all of this is keeping them apart, even though they have this insane attraction and chemistry between each other. And it was so good, so good. I really recommend reading Birthday Girl if you haven't. And another book that I really liked by Penelope Douglas is Credence. I know this book, either people love it or people hate it. So it is just, you kind of have to look at it with a grain of salt and just kind of have an open mind. This is kind of it's not reverse harem, but it does kind of lean towards that way. This girl, her parents have just died, and she has to go stay with her step uncle. So it's her dad's stepbrother. So she's not blood related. So that's the important part of knowing this. Her uncle and his two sons, and they live off in the mountains in this wilderness, and she goes to live with them, and she has relationships with each one of them. But she does end up with one of them at the end of the book. But this was wild and crazy, and I loved it. I'm just that sort of person that I just like out of the box type of situations, and this was one of them, and I really liked it. Then I really like Serena Bowen. My favorite series from her is the Him series that has Him and Us and Epic. So the two full novels, and then there is a novella kind of wrapping it up. This is about two guys. They were friends growing up because they were going to this hockey camp like during the summer, and they were best friends, and then they had an encounter because one of them was he pretty much knew he was gay, and they had this encounter with each other, and it totally freaked the one who's gay. It freaked him out because he felt like he took advantage of his friend. So then he didn't have anything to do with his friend for several years. And his friend, of course, was totally heartbroken because he didn't understand why all of a sudden his best friend, didn't have anything to do with him. Well, they meet back up again later. They are hockey players for their college teams. And they meet back up when they play a game against each other. It's like the final game. I don't know the hockey terminology. But it is their final game. They're like fighting for the championship, and they talk to each other again, and he's basically like, hey, what happened a few years ago? And then they start to have a friendship again, and then they graduate college, and they one of them is a coach at that hockey camp that they went to as boys. And he said, why don't you come help me coach at the hockey camp this summer? So they're coaching now at this hockey camp, and of course Ryan who is the openly gay one, he has feelings, of course, for Jamie. Jamie is, he doesn't understand this until later when he realizes that, he's never been into guys, but he loves Ryan. They fall for each other and they have a relationship with each other. And their relationship is so beautiful. I love it. And then the second book continues on in their relationship and some hard things that they go through because Ryan is having to keep their relationship under wraps because it's really hard for athletes to be openly gay. And it's hard on relationships when they have to pretend like they're not in a relationship. And so they go through some hardships, and it's just a wonderful series. I can't recommend it enough, and I really loved these Ryan and Wesley in the Him series. Then there is the True North series. I have not finished all the books in this series, but the ones that I have read have been absolutely wonderful. This follows a family. The first book starts with the family that they own an apple orchard, a farm, where people can come pick apples. They sell apples at the farmer's market. They make apple cider. And the first book is centered around the oldest son, is it Griffith or Griffin? I can't remember. But a girl comes back into his life that he knew from college. And of course they hit it off. And this is their love story. And then each book is centered around one of the members of the family or one of their friends. I love this series of the ones that I've read so far, and I recommend the True North series by Serena Bowen. And then another author that I really like is Ella Fields. The book I like the most by Ella Fields is Serenading Heartbreak. This one is also a very emotional, heartbreaking story, but so good. This is a love triangle. This is about a girl who has fallen in love with her brother's best friend. He lives across the street from him. He has a really hard life growing up, and so her family kind of takes him under their wing a lot. And he calls her Clover because the first time he met her, she was sitting in the grass, and when she stood up, she had a clover leaf stuck on her. So that was his nickname for her, was Clover. And they kind of have, once she grows up, they kind of have a relationship, but it's kind of on and off because her brother and him have a band, and so they go off touring, and of course they don't have the most healthy relationship because when they're off touring, he is not faithful to her, which they're not in that type of relationship. They've just kind of fooled around, but it really hurts her that he doesn't stay faithful to her, or that he's not willing to be in that type of relationship for her. And so they do this on and off throughout the years, and then she meets this baseball player, and he is so good to her. He is so good to her. They have a relationship. They start up a relationship, and then she comes in contact with the guy, her brother's best friend. I can't remember his name. I can't remember any of their names. But they come in contact again, and all these old feelings resurface, and she cheats on her boyfriend with him, and you never know who she's going to end up with, and you kind of rooting for each guy whenever she's with one. You think, oh, she needs to be with him, but when she's with the other, you're thinking, oh, but he's wonderful too. So you never know who she's going to end up with until the end of the book, and I just love this book so much, and I can't recommend it enough. And then Ella Fields also has the Magnolia Cove series. This has to do with, the first book is Kiss and Break Up. This one centers around childhood best friends. They've been best friends ever since they were babies because their moms were best friends. They don't have a relationship with each other, but he pretty much they're teenagers, and he pretty much warns every guy off of her, so she never really has the chance to date because he threatens to beat anybody up who even comes close to her. But whereas he has many relationships. So, and finally he realizes that, hey, his feelings that he has for her goes more than just friends. And then finally he comes to realize that he loves her. The second book is Forever and Never. This is one of their friends, Daphne, and I can't remember the guy's name. Can't remember. She and the guy, they strike up a relationship, and then it comes to be known that he has a girl says that she's pregnant with his baby. So it was from a few months earlier before they had a relationship, and now they're in a relationship, but he's having a baby with another girl. So that introduces a lot of problems in their relationship, and they're trying to make it work. And then things happen, and they don't see each other for quite a while. And then she comes back into his life, and of course he is not having it. He's really upset with her, and she just works his way back into his life. And he is a single dad because the mom takes off. She didn't want to have a baby anyway. She wants to go to college to become a lawyer. So she pretty much leaves the baby with him, and he's a single dad. He lives with his mom. His mom helps him as much as she can. And that was really neat to see him take care of his baby girl. And then Daphne comes back into the picture and helps him with her. That's the second book in the series. And then the third book, which just recently came out, is Hearts and Thorns, and this is one of their other friends, Willa and Jackson. They are step brother and sister, and they fall for each other. So very taboo, but also really good. I know their favorite author is Tilly Cole. She wrote the Hades Hangman series, and I just realized that I did a whole video on this series, and I realized that I have been pronouncing Hades wrong. I was pronouncing it Hades. So if you watch that video, just know that I did not put 2 and 2 together that this was Hades and not just Hades. So anyway, it's Hades Hangman series, and this is a motorcycle club series, and each book follows one of the guys in the motorcycle club. And I really loved it. If you want to see more explanation about these books, go watch my video about the Hades Hangman series. The next author that I really like is Gianna Darling, and she has written in a motorcycle club series called The Fallen Men. The first book centers around King, who is the motorcycle club's president's son. So this is King, and he falls in love with his teacher. He is 18, about to graduate, and he falls in love with one of his teachers, and so that is very taboo, and of course an age gap. The second book revolves around his dad, Zeus, and this is my favorite book in the series. And he saves this girl when she was like 7 from being killed, and he is sent to prison though because he kills the guy who was trying to kill him. And they write each other. It begins as a very innocent friendship. She is pretty much left all alone. Her parents really don't have anything to do with her, and so Zeus is her companion throughout life. But then when she becomes a teenager, she starts to have feelings for Zeus. So Zeus kind of wait, this is, he puts a stop to everything. And then later on, she comes back into the picture because she she's always had to be a goody two-shoes girl for her family. But she wants to live more on the wild side, so she starts hanging around Zeus more, and they fall for each other. And then the third book in the series revolves around Zeus's daughter, Harley Rose, and she is his daughter, of course, so she's been brought up in the motorcycle club. She's a really tough girl, and she falls for a police officer. So there is an age gap there as well. I think all of the books in the series are age gaps. And then it goes on into more of the motorcycle club members' stories. Then I really like Helen Hong. She has written the Kiss Quotient series. So it's The Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test. And I cannot wait for the third one to come out. But The Kiss Quotient is about a girl with some type of autism. She's on the autism spectrum, but she is so smart, so successful. She's very successful in life except for relationships. She just doesn't know what to do, and so she hires this male escort to kind of teach her what to do, and they end up falling for each other. And The Bride Test is the male escort. This is his brother, who is also on the autism spectrum. Their mom brings home a bride and tells him that, she's going to live with you, and, and it really kind of ticks him off because he's used to his routines and how he likes things just so. And the girl that's living with him, can't remember her name, she kind of throws everything off kilter, but he comes to love her, and he doesn't understand why. And he thinks he has the flu when she leaves him, but he just misses her because he loves her. And there's such good stories. I love these stories so much. Then I really like Candy Steiner. She has written a lot of good books. One I like from her is Weightless. This is about a girl who has struggled with weight all her life, and her boyfriend has just broken up with her. He told her, that he didn't want to be with her anymore because he wanted to be with somebody else, and that just kind of wrecked her world. And so she starts going to the gym, and she has a trainer. There's a trainer helping her lose weight, and they end up falling for each other. And she also wrote the What He Doesn't Know duet. I think it's a duet. There is a third book in the series, but it's What He Doesn't Know and What He Always Knew. Sorry, I'm looking down at my notes. This is about a girl who is married to her husband, and her childhood crush, love, comes back into her life when her marriage is not doing very good. They have suffered a lot in their marriage, and now they have kind of drifted apart from each other. And so now he is back in her life, and she starts to wonder, like, am I even in love with my husband anymore? Who would I want to be with? This is a love triangle, and you don't know until the end of the second book who she chooses. It is such a wild ride. You love both of the guys, but I did finally decide on which guy I wanted her to be with. So he just outdid the other one. But the third book follows the guy who did not end up with her. So don't look at the synopsis of that book, because it will completely spoil the first two books for you. And then she has written the Becker Brothers series. I've only read the first two books in the series, but I really enjoyed them. It was On the Rocks and I can't remember the second one. But this follows a family, a group of brothers, Becker brothers, and they work at this whiskey distillery, and it involves each of their romances. And she also wrote the Palm South University series. Right now it has 5 books in it. The 5th book just came out. This centers around this group of guys and girls who go to Palm South University, and they're in like the sorority and fraternity groups, and it just kind of centers around what going to college is like for them, their friendships, their relationships, their jobs, their classes, everything. It's a really good series, and I recommend it. And then finally, I know I probably have more authors than this, but I know I have to wrap this up at some point. I can't list everybody, but I really enjoyed Penny Reed. I've only read 3 books by her, but it is the Winston Brothers series, and I could not include this because I love the Winston family so much. It is a group of siblings. There's one sister and five brothers, I think. They each have a story, a book about each of their romances. The first one is Truth or Beard, the second is Grand and Bearded, and the third is Beard Science. There are more, but those are the 3 that I have read. It follows each one of the brothers and their love stories, and I really enjoy it. I cannot wait to read more in the series, and yeah. that was it. So those were just some of my favorite authors and some of the books that they've written. Let me know if you have enjoyed any of these books or if you will put any on your TBR. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!